What's up, everybody? This is Gary Holt from Exodus and formerly from Slayer, and you're listening to The Razor's Edge.
Dani, welcome to The Razor's Edge.
Thank you.
So, before we talk about all things Cradle and your upcoming tour, I wanted to just jump back in time a little bit to before the days of the band. So, how did you first get into heavy metal?
I thought you were going to say to the time of the dinosaurs then. I was like, that's all my thing. How did I get into heavy metal?
Yeah.
Well, there's a friend at school who's probably the only person in school. I was in a countryside school, Hadley High School. Population about 10,000 at the time. He was the only kid in the school who was into metal. And I just befriended him, and I knew my cousin was really into metal. His whole bedroom was covered in posters of Ozzy and Motorhead and what have you. And the first album my friend lent me was an Ozzy album, naturally. I got into it so quickly, like within 6 months, I was like listening to Slayer, really into thrash. Merciful Fate actually was one of the first albums I actually owned. Don't Break the Oath, still one of my favorites. Yeah, that was pretty much it. Like totally smitten. Prior to that, it was sort of dark pop. I'd be searching out pop that had like a dark edge. Strange enough, Ultravox was the first ever album I bought.
Yeah.
And recently, Cradle did a cover of which hasn't been released yet, The Voice by Ultravox, so that kind of brings it full circle. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Horror movies was an progression into metal, and I just thought it was like the oral equivalent.
Absolutely. So you mentioned Merciful Fate, and obviously they had magnificent album covers, and a lot of the albums did back in the day. Were the album covers a draw for the bands you went for back then?
Oh, absolutely. Once I got into it, we used to save up our pocket money and do regular trips to Shades in London. And we'd always write down a list of what we wanted, whether they had it or not. That was the beauty of it back then, you know? You went searching. And if you bought an album that was shit, you'd listen to it about 500 times to make sure it was shit.
Yeah.
And really try to like it because you just spent hard-earned money on it. But yeah, you'd always save like enough money because Shades used to have imports to America and it'd be $8.99. That was super expensive at the time. So you always save at least £9, probably $8.99 actually, knowing what we were like back in the day.
Yeah.
For a random album that you would find. And I found the first Sepultura album, a band called SDI, although they did have a fucking awful album cover. Yeah, just random stuff. Oh, a band called Slaughter, but not the Slaughter, the Canadian Slaughter. Strapado album I bought on the strength of the cover, the song titles, and the fact that they were wearing really cool shirts on the back. Yeah, people festooned in bullet belts and doing this stuff, looking dark and ominous, and had cool, really cool shirts. You'd be like, yes.
Yeah. And you mentioned there that you'd play an album 500 times just to make sure it was as crap as you thought it was because you'd spent your money on it. That's obviously not a thing anymore thanks to streaming. So
you don't even have good albums anymore because of streaming.
do you look at the way you produce albums now and think I've got to make an impact immediately because there's not that multiple effect anymore?
Yeah, we write 2 good songs and that's it. The rest of filler. No, that's not how we write records at all. I'm still old guard, you know. I still buy CDs, basically because perhaps I can't break from tradition, but also I like supporting bands, and I like listening to stuff. I just see these as so much better quality. I think there's only Tidal that really match the 24-bit, you know, or experience. But yeah, good CD player, amazing speakers. I mean, that's the thing. And if vinyl, yeah, but I was a vinyl kid back in the day because there weren't no CDs. And if people give me vinyl, like Danzig gave me a bunch of vinyl when we were on tour with them, because he just visited Waxworks Records, which is like just all soundtracks and soundtracks. And a massive fan of soundtracks, horror soundtracks, etc. And yeah, if somebody gives me vinyl, obviously I'll listen to it, but I'm not going to go out my way. I was on tour in Australia recently and went to a shop that I thought would have mixture of vinyl and CD, but it was all vinyl. And it was all wonderful. I mean, they even had like Razor and Exciter and stuff like that. But it was all like $65. I was like, this, you know?
Yeah.
And you know, you've got 3,000 plus CDs and you've been collecting all the stuff that you wanted when you were youthful, you sold or whatever. The last thing you can do is go and rebuy it all on vinyl, not at those prices.
So, so we're really here to talk about your tour because you've got a big tour coming up. So, um, first of all, you were announced for Damnation Festival in Manchester, and then you built a tour around that. So, Damnation is specifically advertised as an old school ritual. So, what have you got planned for that Damnation show?
Well, bearing in mind they just came up with that, and then we sort of had to go, oh, okay, right, got to learn two sets now.
Yeah,
Um, well, obviously the first five records,
yeah,
two EPs, not all of them, obviously. There are other bands on the bill.
yeah.
We've got one day. Yeah, just old school stuff. It's been really fun to revisit some of it. Some of it, a couple of songs we played every now and then anyway.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's going to be a real spectacle. And yeah, I don't want to give too much away. It's going to be for the older generation, I guess. Um, I mean, newer fans will get it. I mean, if it's everything up till uh, Damnation, I think. It's yeah, it's a good mix of stuff.
Excellent.
Few from Principle, naturally.
Yeah,
Dusk, Midian.
yeah. So when you get approached for to do special sets like that, what does a promoter have to bring to the table for you to consider it?
Well, they literally have to put it online, and then we go, oh, so it's kind of set in concrete, isn't it? That's pretty much what they have to do. That's I hope nobody else is listening about this because we'll start getting some really weird requests now. Um, well, I mean, I appreciate the gesture anyway because obviously it benefits the festival. You're going to get a certain clientele. I know it's Bleeding Through are doing one of their albums in its entirety, one of their older albums. In fact, I think they supported us across the States when that album came out. So yeah, I mean, it's a really good bill. There's a lot of really interesting bands on there. Could be a second Bloodstock in its time, you know.
Oh, absolutely. And I was going to ask you about the festival in general because it has got like a growing cult following in the UK. It was the only festival who managed to get Bolt Thrower to do a show a few years ago. It's where Carcass made their comeback in 2008. Was this festival on your radar before they booked you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to come to the one with Bolt Thrower, but of course we were on tour.
Yeah.
But yeah, but Bolt Thrower, Carcass, fond memories of them playing my hometown, actually, Ipswich, when it used to be like grindcore capital of the east of England. Every weekend there'd be a gig with Bolt Thrower, Whipcord, Deviated Instinct, you know,
Yeah.
Extreme Noise Terror, Decadence Within, etc., etc.
Yeah. For some classic bands
I
there.
actually saw some stuff online yesterday from some arcane activist. He always posts loads of old stuff, and they had some clips of Bolt Thrower playing a Gillies in Manchester. And I was like, "Fuck me!" Cradle. That was like our first time we ever played Manchester supporting Bolt Thrower. And subsequently, when we were recording Dusk, or the first incarnation of that, our manager used to whisk us across to Gillies on a Friday night. So I spent many a good night at that place.
Gillies was a great venue, wasn't it? That's a great little club in the centre of Manchester.
It was actually massive, wasn't it?
Well, it's like Maze, wasn't it? When you were in there, it was dark and you could just wander around corridors and not find anything. It's one of those places,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
exactly.
Um, so,
Walking around.
so around the Damnation date, obviously you've got 10 more dates around the UK and Ireland, and obviously you've got European dates as well. What's the plan for the main tour? What are you bringing to that tour?
Well, just another eclectic set. It's kind of at the end of a album cycle for us. Our new album comes out in April, I believe. Don't hold me to that, but I think it is. Our first single came out on Tuesday, so we're going to be playing that, Malignant Perfection. But the tour's called By Order of the Dragon, and the Order of the Dragon is our fan club. It's been our symbol since 1996. So it kind of implies that we're playing stuff from across the board, which is what we're doing. So we're playing early stuff, new stuff, fan favorites, our favorites, real eclectic mix. We're bringing an array of bands that don't necessarily fit to the black metal tag, but that's kind of thing we do in America a lot. We've had Typo support us there, Gwar, CKY, 69 Eyes, Satyricon, just a plethora of different bands. So we've got Butcher Babies.
Yeah.
In England, we've got High Parasite, which is obviously Aaron from My Dying Bride's new project, which is fantastic. Got the album in the car at the moment.
Yeah.
Mainly because I can't bother to take it out. That's what happens when you put a CD in the car. No, it's great. And a band called Black Satellite, who've toured in the States with us on numerable occasions. We got on very well with them. So, it's a real eclectic mix. And the bands are going to be very visual. We've got a great stage show, great light presentation, new costumes. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be amazing. We've been really on fire this year. It's taken us a while to finish our album, solely because of that reason. Every time we get comfortable in the studio for a couple of weeks, we're off on another tour. And subsequently, because of that, we've got a lot of dates under our belts, and kind of hardened to the road and been playing pretty well of late. Just did a sellout tour in Australia, which was magnificent. So yeah, really up for it.
Excellent. And you've got a 13 album back catalogue amongst all of your other releases as well, 13 studio albums. So
The other detritus.
so how do you compile a set list for shows these days with so much to pick from?
Well, if it was up to our drummer Martin, we'd be playing for about 8 days solid. Because whenever he presents the track list to us, I'm going, "This is great, Martin, but I mean, we've only got an hour and 40 minutes at tops, and this is literally about 4 hours worth. So we're going to have to go through and siphon things off, and then we go, oh God, we played that last time, or we didn't play this enough." And I mean, we just did. What did we release recently? Trouble in Their Double Lives, which is the first live album for 20 years. And that was a mission in itself as well, because we didn't want to repeat what we did 20 years ago, believe it or not. And we had a whole bunch of stuff. So we had to, again, play fan favorites, stuff we really wanted to play. So some eclectic stuff on there too. I know we crammed a couple of new songs on there as well, but that was just us, wanting to bridge the gap between the last record and the new one. And obviously, with the pandemic and everything, post-pandemic, everybody's been rushing to try and get their lives back in order and get back on track. But yeah, it's growing ever more difficult, and it'll be even more difficult with the release of the next album as well, because there's some certified bangers on that, and subsequently we'll be playing a few of those, I guess, when the album's out.
Excellent. So do you do like Metallica do, and they change the set list almost completely every night? Is that something you would or do consider doing?
Not every night, but then we're not playing arenas and having 2 days off in between.
Yeah.
If that was the case, yeah, evidently. But yeah, definitely. Obviously, there's some songs that people expect us to play, the Amphetamines, the Ghost in the Fogs, etc. but then we always throw in stuff that people go, "Oh, hello, haven't heard that for a while," and that's a bit of a joy to play as well. Um, yeah, I mean, we played quite a bit this year actually, and been mixing it up from album to album and from venue to venue. Uh, but yeah, we try and coordinate things, and have with the stage show. So once it's fixed in for a tour, we
Yeah.
kind of stick by that. Although there's the occasion where we think, well, let's play another song and just throw something from our repertoire in, if only to annoy our keyboardist.
Yeah, I guess when you bring a big pyro show and things like that, things are tied in, aren't they? And pyro goes off at certain points in certain songs, and you need to keep it relatively stable.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So from an outsider or fan's point of view, life on the road can seem pretty glamorous with your shows and their after parties and things like that. But what's it really like with a day touring with Cradle of Filth?
Well, I don't drink anymore. I haven't drunk for a few years now. So after show parties are, I mean, the other guys do as well, but it's not that raucous until Roadie Friday. When it's a Roadie Friday, our bus becomes like 80s heaven, 80s metal, 80s pop. Yeah, the bus can be seen to have all, you go down the moat. We've often been pulled over in America for lights going off and the bus jolting from side to side, music blaring, the bus driver can't hear his own sanity, that sort of thing. But generally, yeah, we're quite reserved actually. We've got it honed down to a T. We've got plenty of personal bomb sites to unload and to pack.
Hmm.
The crew are very busy with everything that we've got, like putting up the stage props and making sure the show is going to be as great as possible. We have meet and greet. We try and get a bit of sightseeing done as well if we're somewhere relatively central. Otherwise, if we've got the time, we'll get a bus in. But sometimes you're just like in the middle of nowhere and it's just, use those days to catch up on reading or work or whatever. But yeah, it's relatively sane. It's very light-hearted. You don't walk into the dressing room and it's boring in a slightest. Everybody's always in good moods. We've got great lineup. Everybody's just really funny and good to get along with. So yeah, we're always pranking each other or just having a general laugh.
Yeah.
I about 3 hours before the show is when I start getting ready, just so that I've got makeup done. I hate being rushed. Makeup done and have at least half an hour, 45 minutes before go on to just hang out with the guys and just we listen to a load of music, get prepped for the gig. So yeah, it's good fun. It's probably not as raucous as people think unless it's a roadie Friday. I mean, a roadie Friday could be every 2 days if you've got days off. Literally, it's just the end of a run.
Yeah.
And there's lots of friends or family turn up. But generally, it's just very light-hearted and, lots of good banter and good food and, yeah, strange smells.
I'm sure.
It's usually the clothing, to be honest.
So, looking ahead now, then you've mentioned it a couple of times, but it's 3 years since Existence is Futile came out. You're signed with Napalm now. How soon can we expect album number 14? And what do you know?
Yeah, April. I told you, April.
Yeah.
It's ready to go. It's been ready to go since June, I think.
Okay.
We're going to stagger a few. I think we're getting 3 videos prior to it. May extend to 4, depending on what reactions like. Working on our second one as we speak. Already filmed most of it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be another step up from the one that just was released, which was great as well, with Vicente Cordero at the helm. Great. Well, we worked with him for about the last 4 videos. She's a great person to work with. Very stylistic, great vision. And then once that album's out, and it's a natural progression from what we've done before.
Yeah.
Amazing production, hints of Dusk and Midian about it, but also hints of everything. I can't really describe it because, I mean, it's just some songs that are very old school dissection-ish. There's some that are a little bit more catchy and more current. But each song has,
Yeah,
very kaleidoscopic, very cinematic. So it's hard to say, oh, this one's very slow, this one's fast. Generally, they have a bit of everything about them.
excellent. So, for what seems like a few years now, pictures of you and Ed Sheeran have been turning up all over the internet. And is that just you taking the piss and winding the media up, or is there anything genuinely going to happen musically between the two of you?
We've done it. We've already recorded a song. Yeah, it's great. It's exactly what you would expect. It sounds like Ed Sheeran. I mean, literally sounds like Ed Sheeran acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
And also it sounds like Cradle of Filth, blast beat, screams.
Yeah.
Ed really pushes himself. He's got a big chorus. It's been done for about 2 years now. We just didn't want to release it straight away because we didn't want this unnecessary fanfare around things we were doing that were going to distract. It's a timeless song, so it doesn't really matter. And then Ed took a blackout year, so his management sort of said, "Would rather you didn't release it this year." Now we've got an album coming out, so we're probably going to release it at the back end of next year, when we can involve him and what have you. But it was really good fun recording it. He came to the studio on his own, no fanfare, no bodyguards, no management, nothing. Just him on his own, his guitar, an amphetamine hoodie on, drove his wife's car there. Spent a great day with him, really productive. Then we went out to the pub for something to eat.
Yeah. And is there ever going to be the chance of Ed appearing on stage at a Cradle of Filth show?
Absolutely. That's exactly what he wants to do.
Brilliant. So one last question before we go, and there's been plenty of highs with Cradle of Filth over the years and plenty of controversy too. So looking back on those 30 years, would you do anything differently?
I don't believe in looking back or regrets. Everything is done for a reason. Yeah, there's been dizzying highs and there's been a few low points as well, a few mistakes along the way. Yeah, sure, you could go, well, but hindsight's a wonderful thing. If you had hindsight, then you probably would take a completely different path anyway. You know what they say, a small ripple, etc., destroys planets. I mean, that's the saying. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of things you look back and go, well, yeah, maybe, but no, I'm not one. I think we've had a wonderful career. We've done things like above and beyond what people expect of a band in our genre, and having a wonderful time at it, and just hitting our stride again after the pandemic. Yeah, there's been a few lineup changes, but so what? That shit happens all the time at a workplace.
Yeah.
People have left for various reasons. People. Well, I think we've only sacked like 2 or 3 people in our entire career. Most people leave because it's just too much for them, or they think they could do it better elsewhere, or innumerable reasons. But we've had a great time with all of them, and obviously being in bands like Living Dog Years anyway, where people go, oh, but you've got a new member. We go, well, yeah, they've been in the band 2.5 years and we've toured the world twice.
Yeah.
And, I probably, I sleep as close to Ashok, for example, probably closer to Ashok when I do my girlfriend, because we're on a bus together,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't have sex with him as much as my girlfriend, only when he's drunk. But yeah, I wouldn't change a thing, to be honest. And I do think had things have been different, even the low things, things would have panned out differently and we wouldn't be in the good place we are nowadays. We've got great management with Des Fafara and his wife.
Yeah.
Des obviously from Cold Chamber and Devil Driver. He's one of my best friends. He's an amazing entrepreneur. Got great other people, great Cradle of Filth, great crew, just great people around the periphery of this band that really look out for us. And it's taken us a while to get to that stage. I wouldn't swap anybody for the world. It's a really good place to be. The only thing I'm going to run out of is years, because I'm the wrong side of 50 now.
We're all
And
getting there.
yeah. So yeah, it's just it'll go on as long as it can. I've got no intention of retiring the beast yet, so we'll just see how it goes.
Fair enough. So, Dani, it's been a pleasure talking to you today. Your tour
Thank you.
starts in Bristol on the 27th, so a couple of days' time, and it runs through to Newcastle on the 8th of November. So, anyone listening or watching, go and check it out. And I will see you personally in Manchester for Damnation Festival.
Yeah, come and say hello.
I will do. Thank you, Dani.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you keep up to date with all of our interviews by subscribing to our channel. For all the latest news, reviews, interviews, and more, head over to our website, www.therazorsedge.rocks.